This question is about football team class. The question is divided into two parts. Part 1, you define the class. Part 2, you write a program to test this class. Define a class with the following specification. The class name is football team, so this is the name of the class, and it has 3 private instance variables. So the question is telling you to define them as private. The first variable is the team name, which is a string. The second variable is wins, which is the number of times the team has won, and losses is the number of times the how many times did the football team lose, and both of them will be integer. This is part A. Let us do this part and then come back for part B for writing the constructor. So public class and the name football team, and inside we will have data members. So we will have a string for t name, and we will have integer 1 for wins and 1 for losses. And now we will have, so this is part A, and now here is part B, the constructor, because we have seen that part B was asking for constructor. So now here we will write the constructor. Let us go for the question and see how to define the constructor. It says write a constructor that accepts. When it says accepts, it means through the input parameters, that accepts the name of the team, the number of wins, and the number of losses. So all of these 3 will be input parameters as arguments, and sets the class properties to those values. This constructor should be public. The constructor itself should be public, and if wins or losses parameters are negative, then the constructor sets them to 0. So public, the constructor name is the same name as the class, and it will accept 3 input parameters, which are the same as the data, integer wins and integer losses. So basically this will just copy the name. So this dot t name equal t name, and now for the ones we have to check whether they are negative or not. So we can do the following. We will put zeros in both of them, because it sets them to 0 if they are negative. So we will put zeros in both of them, and now we will check if they are positive. If the first one is positive, then change it to the value of the parameters. And also for the other one, if losses greater than 0, then we say this dot losses is equal to losses. This is one way to do it, or if you would like to do it with if and else, like for example you write if wins, which is the input parameter, is less than 0, then you write this dot wins equal to 0, else this dot wins is equal to wins, that is the input parameter. So you can write if and else, and see 0 here should be included. There is no need to include it. Why? Because it's already, we set them to 0. So either you do it this way or you do it that way. So I will just remove the other way and we will leave it like this. So this is for part B. Now let us see what is for part C. It says write public getter methods for all the instance variables. When it says getter, it means get. It did not say anything about set, so we are not going to write setter methods. Here when it says getter, then we assume that we have a private data, but we forgot to put the private in front of the data. And this is what we will do next. We will go back to the program. We will define the data private, and we should do that from the beginning because the question already says private. And then we will define the getter methods for all of them. So let us go to the data. And now here we write private. And then we'll go for the other ones. Also, we will define them as private. Now for part C, we need to write getters for the 3 data member. We will write one, we will copy it and paste it for the others. Now getter will get me a value. So it must have a return value. For the first one, it will be string, and it's going to be called get tname. And it does not have an input parameter because it's going to return this dot tname, and this here is optional because we don't have any naming conflict. Now for wins, number of wins, it will be public, and since wins is integer, so it will return integer, and we will call it get wins, and it will not have any input parameter, and inside it will return this dot wins. And for losses, I will just simply copy it and paste it, but we will call it get losses, and here we will return dot losses. So we have defined 3 get methods for the 3 instance variables. Now for part D, it says write a method called win. So we know the name of the method, and remember, for method, put in your mind name, input parameters, return value, and the code inside. So the name is win. Write a method called win and see the difference between win and wins. And wins here it has s, it means it's a data member, but here we are going to define a method. This method will increase the number of wins by 1. So we need to write a method that will increase number of wins by 1, and we need to write another method called lose to increase the number of losses by 1. So here we have part D. We will define 2 methods. Now public question mark, is it going to return a value or not, and it's going to be called win, and also question mark if it is going to have input or not. So this method, as it's required, is to increase number of wins by 1. So simply it will just add 1 into wins. So since it is going to add only, no calculation, nothing is going to return, so we expect that this will be void. And now since it is working only on one data, which is wins, and it is inside the class, so again we don't need any input parameter. I will copy this method, Control C, and I will paste it, Control V, and here we will change the name and we will say lose, and here it will increase number of losses by 1 by using plus. Now for part E, we need to write also a public method called has good record. So this is the name, has good record. And as you read the name, it looks like it's a question. Does it have good record or not? So what this method is going to return, it says that returns a true. So when it returns a true, it means the return value is Boolean. It returns a true when a team has a good record. When the team has good record, meaning the team has more wins than losses, or otherwise it will return false. So I will copy the name of the method, and now let's go to JGrasp. So for part E, we need to define a method that is public, and since we said it retains a Boolean value because it will return a true or false, and we will check if it needs input parameters or not. So this method inside will check for number of wins if number of wins, or you can use this if you wish, if number of wins greater than number of losses, then this will return true. That means it has good record. Otherwise it will return false. If you want to save spaces, you can put the part for F in the same line with the condition, and for else you can put it also on the same line. Now for input parameters. Now see, the method is using wins, which is data inside the class, losses, which is also data inside the class. So it needs nothing than this data, so we don't need any input parameter. We need to write an equals method for part F for this class. The method should accept a football team as an object, as an argument, and it should return true if the argument object contains the same name. So we are going to use name or for comparing the two objects of the football team. So now we are in JGrasp. So this is for part F for the equals method. And remember, for the equals method, it is a standard public Boolean equals, and the input parameter will be the same as the class football team, and we're going to call it other team. Now inside we are going to use the name for comparing. So theoretically I will just change it. We will say if this dot t name is equal to other team dot t name, then it will return true. Otherwise it will return false. Now when I say theoretically, because t name is a string, so I cannot use equals to compare a string. So to compare strings we have to use equals, and here I'm going to use equals ignore case. So we'll say t name dot equals ignore case, and we will put the other team name as an object inside equals ignore case method. Now for the last method that we need to write inside the class is write a method called printinfo that displays all the below data. So this method will print team name, will print number of wins, and will print number of losses. So let us go to JGrasp and write this method. Now for part G, so here this is part G, we need to write public. Now since it is a printing, so most probably that it is void, and the name will be print info as suggested by the name, and let us see if it needs input or not. So this method simply prints, so it will be system.out.println, and it will print team name, and we will use tab, and then we will print this dot t name, and system.out.println, here we will print number of wins. Again we will use tab, this dot number of wins, and finally system.out.println number of losses with tab, and here we print this dot losses. Now all the data that this method needs, tname, wins, and losses, are inside the class. So we don't need any input parameter for this method to do its job. It is just a printing, and I think I have here a spelling mistake. It should be void. Now in part 2, here it says write a Java application to do the following. So we have ABC. Ask the user to enter the name, the number of wins, and the number of losses for a team. So we need to write a standard application that will ask the user, so we need a scanner. It will ask for name, number of wins and number of losses for a team. Let us do this part and then come back. Now here I have created the necessary lines for a program in Java for the main program. So I named the class football team test app, and we have the main method inside. And now here we need to define the data for the input. So here we need a string. We need a string here, and I'm going to call it team name. And also we need integer for number of wins, and also we need another integer number of losses. Okay, and we will ask the user to give us this information. So we will say, what is the team name as a question mark, and we are going to read the name from the same line, and we will read team name. It will be n.next as one word, or if you prefer to read more than one word, just use next line. Next, we will ask the user system out dot print how many matches did the team win. And we are going to read this into number of wins. So copy, Control C, and this will be equal n.next int, and we will ask the same question, Control C and Control V, how many matches did the team lose? And we are going to read into number of losses, equal to n.next int, and this is going to be for part A. For part B, it says create an object called my team from the class football team, which was defined in part 1, and initialize its values to the user data. When it says initialize, it means we have to use the constructor of the football team class. So for part B, it says create, so we will create one, and it will be football team, this is the name of the class, my team, this is the name of the object, equal new. Now we will call the constructor, and then we will give the data that we have read from the user, team name, Control C, and here we will have Control V, and we will give also number of wins, Control C and Control V, and also we will give number of losses for initialization to initialize the object. This is for part B. For part C, it is asking if my team has good record. So how to check if my team, which is the object we have created, has good record? Remember, we have a method which is Boolean inside the class. It will test for the team whether it has good record or not. The name of that method was has good record, and it will check for number of wins and number of losses. If number of wins is greater than number of losses, it will return it true. So what will happen if the team has good record? We need to print its information data. So how to print? Again, we have a method called the print info. We have defined inside the class, and this will print the data. What if the team has no good record? Then we need to find and print number of wins needed to make the team have good record. So if he has more losses than wins, so how many matches needed for this team to win to be in good record? So now for part C, we need to check if my team dot, so we need to put a bracket, my team dot has good record with empty brackets. If this is the case, remember that we need to print the team information, so we say print info. Otherwise, we need to print a message by saying the team needs this amount. Here we need to put something of winning matches, or it needs this amount matches to win, to be in good, no space, so I will just go down and continue the message, to be in good, or to have good record. So how to find the number of wins needed? So we just simply subtract number of losses from number of wins. It will give us the number. But how to access the data wins and losses? Remember, we have a get and method. Let's go to the class. Now for the class, this is the method, has good record. And now let's go for C. Here we have getters. The getters one, it will give me number of wins and it will give me number of losses. We can use this method to give us number of losses minus number of wins to give us the difference. So let's go, and here, so we will say my team dot get number of losses minus, so let us put brackets so that we don't get any syntax error, minus my team dot get wins. And we will continue the message. Since we have matches to win, to have good, we will continue the message. We don't need to break it into new line. Okay, so here what will be printed, I think we need a bracket, one more bracket. It will print the team needs, it will take the difference, number of losses minus number of wins, and will print it and will say it needs this amount of matches to win to have good records. This completes the implementation. Now let us run it, and hopefully we don't have any errors. It seems that we did not save. See here, there is a star. It means we did not save football team, so we will save it. And also we are going to save our main application. Let us see first the class don't have any errors, so we click a plus. So the class does not have any error. Let's go to our main program and try to see if there are errors. There is one, my team. Sorry, here I think I made a mistake. I should call the constructor here. So the constructor will be football team, which is the same name as the class. Try to see if there are any other errors. There are no errors. So now let us test the program by running. So now we will run the program and see. We will run it. So now it is asking for what is the team name. So we will say Zallag. Okay. How many matches did the team win? Let's say 23. And how many did the team lose? We will say 12. And so in this case, the team has good record. So here it says, okay, did not print that it has good record, because it says if it has good record, just to print the team name. Let us now run it again. And again, we will say Zallag. And now number of winning, let's say it is a 12. And number of losses, let's say it is equal to 15. So it has more losses than number of wins. So now when we run it, so it says that the team needs 3 matches to win to have good records. But if we have 3 matches and we add it to 12, so they will be equal. And remember that still will not be in good record. So we have to increase it by one more. So that means we have a logical error that we need to correct it. So our equation needs to be modified. Where's our equation? Our equation is here. So not only you subtract, and also you need to add 1 because we want to make number of wins greater than number of losses. Now we will run it again. So the team name, Zallag, okay, spelling mistake. And number of wins we have 12, number of losses 15. So the team needs 4 matches to win to have good record. So this completes our implementation for the problem.